Everybody, Jay Adams, welcome back to Jay's Brawl Call. The man himself is sitting in the seat. Dana White, the president of the UFC. He has been gracious enough to give us all this time, and we're really getting some insights from Dana. We really appreciate it. We went to break. We were talking about how big the UFC has become. An initial investment of $2 million that the Fertittas made, based largely on your salesmanship to them, saying, look, I really think this sport's going to do something. What was it about the sport that, can you put your finger on what it was exactly about the sport that made you think this will go big? Because $2 million back then with no guarantees. I mean, it was limping along with Semaphore, right? UFC was limping along.
Well,
what
not
was
only that, not only the $2 million, but you know, all we got for $2 million were some contracts, some fighter contracts, which these guys had to be paid, and an old wooden octagon and those 3 letters UFC. They had stripped everything else out and sold it to keep the thing alive. So we
what were you thinking?
Here's what we thought. So we started to take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We fell in love with it immediately. Then we started to meet some of the fighters, and these guys were amazing. First of all, 90% of the guys are educated, have some type of college education. Most of them come from martial arts or wrestling, right? So then we went to an event, and we're sitting at the event. We're sitting there going, wow, this could be big. Imagine if they did this, and imagine if they did that. This thing could be really huge. So I started representing Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz. I was managing them, and I got into this huge contract battle with the old owners of the UFC over Tito's contract. Lasted almost a year, and through that, I found out that they were in trouble and going out of business. So I called Frank and Lorenzo. They were in Miami at the time, and I said, I think the UFC's in trouble. I think we can buy this thing. And a month later, we owned the company. So I gave them my spiel, what I thought, everything else. They totally were in 100%. They believed in it, and they believed that we could do this.
Wow.
So our first event that we ever put on, first of all, to explain how bad the UFC was at that time, just went out of business. Venues did not want this. If you think about all the venues all over the world, these places that hold events, they get pitched on tons of events, and they want events. They did not want the UFC. The first guy to ever give us our break, as far as the venue goes, was Donald Trump. Yeah, we were at the Trump Taj Mahal, and we did our first fight there. We sold 3,500 tickets and did a live gate of $110,000. Wasn't allowed on pay-per-view. Was not allowed on pay-per-view. Porn is on pay-per-view. The UFC was not allowed on pay-per-view. That's how bad it was, okay? So now the UFC is in 175 countries, in 23 different languages, and over 1 billion homes worldwide, and we are the largest pay-per-view provider in the world.
So, in other words, the Fertittas' ROI was pretty good.
Yeah. It didn't look good in the beginning. We didn't start making money. We bought the company in January of 2001, and we didn't start making money till the end of 2006, early 2007.
Woo.
We were $44 million in the hole.
There was something, clearly, something very, very innate and something very foundational in you that believed in this sport, because all of your exterior data and all your feedback was negative about whether this thing was going to live or not. So there was something very vital that you believed in. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We're also going to talk about your probably next closest competition, Bellator, all that and much more when we return. Stay with us. Jay's Brawl Call is brought to you by Healthmate Saunas, the leader of the sauna industry since 1979. HealthmateSauna.com. AKO, American Knockout Wear, where shadows become legends. And CNP Professional, the ultimate in sports nutrition. CNP Professional, because it works. Welcome back to Jay's Brawl Call, everybody. Visiting with Dana White, the president of the UFC. When we left off, Dana, you were talking about just how bad UFC was when you took it over and how close you guys came to not making it. Things were very dire. What was the big turnaround for you?
We got to the point where we were $44 million in the hole, and our goal was to get on television. A thing that wasn't allowed on pay-per-view, we wanted to get on free TV. So you can imagine everybody on earth thought that it was absolutely impossible except for us. And we just kept plugging along. We finally got on Fox. They used to have a show called The Best Damn Sports Show, period.
Right.
So we get on Fox. We do a fight on Fox. It blows everything away that they've ever done. The highest rated thing ever on the show. We still don't get the deal with Fox. Still don't get it. So we...
But at that point, Frank and Lorenzo were saying, okay, we're not going to kick your ass, Dana. There is, boom,
No.
there it is right there. We feel better now.
No, I can tell you this. This is what I can tell you. Through all the bad times, one of the most powerful things about this company, through the bad times when all this stuff's going on, never once did they say to me, I can't believe you had us invest in this thing. I can't believe we're losing this much money. I can't believe this and that are happening. Did Lorenzo? Yeah, Lorenzo had a conversation with me once where he's like, dude, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pumping this kind of money into this thing. You know, I'm blowing all my family's money on this thing. You know, when you look at your money, he had kids then. So when you look at your money, you're like, this is my kids' money that I'm blowing here.
Yeah.
So he hung in there. Him and his brother had the balls to hang in there, because that's what it takes. When you got to have that. When you're talking about being an entrepreneur, that's an entrepreneur. You know, like a Fertitta or a Sheldon Adelson. When the world is crumbling, Sheldon Adelson goes in and starts buying up all his own stock. When nothing looks like it's going to go like this, everything's going like that. You know, Sheldon Adelson's stock was at $1.50 for the Venetian, right? Got to $1.50. He went out there and started spending all his own money buying up all his own stock. Wow. Now that stock's at $70-something. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
So that's the kind of mentality you have to have, and the kind of I don't know. Like I just said, you got to have some balls.
Yeah, yeah, you do, man. And I'm beginning to see probably why you were so tenacious. And you know, there's plenty of people out there who say you're absolutely brutal in business and you're hardcore and you're just a fierce competitor. And you know, you can see why when you talk to your friends and say, hey, man, I think there's something here, and they believe in you.
But that's what it's about. At the end of the day, you know, when people say that about me and they talk about me, they say it like it's a bad thing. You know, how do you think this works? What do you think? You think if you own a business, you just go home and lay on the couch? I'm the boss. I'm going to take today off, or you can, you know, you have to. Let me tell you what, this country is getting to a point where it's really getting scary. Okay, we're getting to this point in this country where everybody thinks that everybody should get a trophy. We should all get a trophy. We should. No, that's not how it works. You got to be ready, and this is why when we talk about competition, you know, why I'm so vicious with people who consider themselves competitors with me. Because if you come out and you say you're my competitor, well, guess what? Now we're going to compete, okay? And we're going to fight until there's a winner and there's a loser, because that's how competition works, and that's the way it is. So if you want to come out and you want to say you're going to be a competitor of mine, you better be ready to go. And here's the fact. You're never going to outwork me. You're never going to beat us. You're never going to beat us. So what you need to do is you just need to jump in, understand your place, know what your place is, and do your thing and make your thing work, because we will beat you every day of the week.
Jay's Brawl Call is brought to you by CNP Professional, the ultimate in sports nutrition. CNP Professional, because it works. AKO, American Knockout Wear, where shadows become legends. And Healthmate Saunas, the leader of the sauna industry since 1979. HealthmateSauna.com. Let's talk about someone who's jumped into the fray. He's joined one of your ex-partners. And of course, that's Bjorn Rebney with Bellator. Most people are saying
It used to be. It's not
You
anymore.
don't consider him competition
No,
anymore?
well, it used to be him. It's not him anymore.
Okay.
I don't even call them They're Viacom MMA. Viacom owns that company. That's Viacom's company.
True. They financially own him.
They
Right,
own it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're calling the shots.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
You're saying they're
Yeah,
calling the shots?
calling the shots.
Bjorn's calling no shots?
Me, Frank, and Lorenzo own this company. You know what I mean? And we call all the shots.
Yeah.
Viacom owns that company. And let me tell you what. And now, when we talk about competition, you're talking about a company that is sitting on $5 billion in cash, okay? Sitting on $5 billion in cash, and they have very, very smart guys that work at the top level.
You're talking about the boys over at Viacom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of guys
Reality
over there.
producers.
No. I'm talking about a couple of guys that run the business, a couple of guys that are in the finance department, a couple of guys that work in business development that are very smart guys that I absolutely respect, okay? So, when you look at what they've got $5 billion in cash, smart guys, business guys that I really respect. But at the end of the day, Viacom, I call them Viacom MMA, but Viacom is a media company, okay? And Viacom is a company that moves like this. They move like that. Something isn't hot, it's not hitting, get rid of it and get something else on here. Okay, this thing's a hit. Let's get it. Let's pump it up and let's make it as big as we can make it. Now it's ran its course. Get it out of here and let's get something else in here. That's what they do for a living. You know what I do for a living? 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, I work MMA. I work on the UFC, MMA. This is all I care about. It's the only thing that matters to me. My focus isn't anywhere else except getting the best fighters in the world and putting on the best fights, in new territories, on new shows going on these networks. It's all about MMA for me. Viacom will never beat me. $5 billion in cash, super smart guys whom I respect. The list goes on and on. This isn't what they do for a living 24/7. This is what I do for a living.
Here's their playbook, Dana. Here's some of the strategy coming out. Kevin Kay, the president of Spike, who you know very well. And
Yep.
You guys have had battles, but you also respect each other.
No, Kevin. I consider Kevin a friend of mine.
Yeah, and he would say the same thing.
I called. He's a little pissed right now. I don't know what his problem is right this moment. I reached out to him. He didn't hit me back. So and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Kev, when I beat him sometimes at certain things, he's going to get a little upset about it. But anyway, go ahead. The playbook.
Well, no, here's as I see it.
The playbook is let's copy everything they've done. That's the playbook. Okay? Let's copy everything they've done. Nothing they've done has been original. They haven't come up with they just came out with a reality show that's a complete ripoff of the UFC Ultimate Fighter and The Voice. Okay? It's a combination of Ultimate Fighter meets The Voice. They're putting on fights. They're cross-promoting with their wrestling program. They haven't done one original thing with MMA since they've had it.
Here's what he would say I can't speak for him, but in terms of what they're trying to do differently, they think they've got a good thing, especially based on the coaches for the new reality show. It's a very elite list. I think you'd agree, an elite list of coaches. But the thing, and I think Kevin Kay would differ with you in whether he defers to Bjorn at times or not. I think he does defer, or he would say that he does defer to Bjorn on the matchmaking, and he does defer to Bjorn on a lot of the fighting decisions, and also on the tourney format, which I think Bjorn, one of the hooks I think they're trying is their catchphrase where title shots are earned. That's one of the things they're going to try to go. They're going at you on right now, is where title shots are earned. They think that in the long run, they'll be able to grab good fighters who feel like they've been skipped or passed over or aren't in good favor with management. So that's one of the things they're putting out right now. And there's been cases right now, they're trumpeting. I think they had a thing in SportsIllustrated.com last week about you would never see a Chael Sonnen situation in Bellator. You're never going to see a 185er who lost his last fight at 85 and gets a title shot his next fight at 205. They said you'll never see that. The fans want to see the best fighters. Those 205ers wouldn't have got skipped over. That's what they're saying right now.
Jay's Brawl Call is brought to you by AKO, American Knockout Wear, where shadows become legends. CNP Professional, the ultimate in sports nutrition. CNP Professional, because it works. And Healthmate Saunas, the leader of the sauna industry since 1979. HealthmateSauna.com.
We'll see how that works out for him in a few years. So all the things that they say you'll never see there, I've done a pretty good job in the last 13 years. Things have worked out pretty well. And let me tell you what, the guys who feel like they've been skipped over, the guys who feel like they haven't got we're the biggest and the best mixed martial arts promotion on earth, right? And I have done business with everybody that you could possibly imagine, from Ken Shamrock to Brock Lesnar, to Royce Gracie, to Tito Ortiz, to the most difficult pains in the asses in the world. You name the guys, I've done business with all of them, okay? If you are not here anymore, you are not here for a very good reason. And if you think that these are the guys that you're going to pick up and you're going to do business with them and it's going to be so much better for you, yeah, it just goes to show how much you don't know about the fight business. And Bjork isn't a matchmaker. He has matchmakers. Viacom MMA pulls all the switches over there. You know what I mean? They invested in that company. They got a lot of money riding on it. A lot of guys got big egos riding on that company right now. And I love when they talk like they think they know what they're talking about when it comes to fighting. Okay? First of all, Spike TV didn't even want this thing. We paid $10 million to get on Spike TV. And it worked. And it worked. So when it worked, they said, okay, we'll jump in. Turns out to be as big as it is and whatever, and the higher up over there, that genius over there, decides he doesn't want to pay for it anymore. We built the UFC, so we'll build another one. We'll do it ourselves. You built the UFC? Really? First of all, that clown didn't even know we were on his network till like the third year, okay? He built it. He didn't even know we were on the network till like the third year that we were on. And they didn't build anything, okay? They stepped into a big steaming pile of shit, okay? They stepped into this thing. They're like, oh, what's on my shoe? Oh, look, you know, the UFC, we built the UFC. We paid our way onto Spike TV. And they really don't know anything about the fight business. But here is what is going to happen. They're invested in this thing, and they're going to learn a lot about the fight business, the same way that I did. Because as we built that company over there, other than putting it on their network and making a couple of commercials, they literally didn't do shit. Okay? They built a few commercials. They helped promote when we were putting a show on and things like that. And I'm saying this right now, and they know it's true. What I'm saying is the absolute truth. We built the UFC on that platform, and now we're going to do even bigger things on Fox. This deal that we did with Fox is unbelievable, but Viacom MMA is going to learn about fighting, and they're going to learn the hard way.
Let me hit two things that are hot right now and tell me if you think that there's any opening for them, that it's a weakness in your game. One is the acquisition, of course, of Quentin Rampage Jackson. He brings a lot to the table. Yeah, he's not in his prime anymore. He brings a lot, as you know.
Like what, though?
Well, I mean,
he's lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, but
he's got every activist group on earth attacking him. The women's group, the gay and lesbian association. Go right down the list of all the activist groups that don't want to see that guy on television ever again.
He brings film. Yeah, I know you kind of made fun of him on the film star stuff, but he does bring that. He's a famous guy. You don't think he's going to draw on his fame?
What does he bring?
Well, he brings name recognition.
People who are fight fans want to see the best fighters in the world compete against each other. I quote Quentin Rampage Jackson, "I can no longer compete with the best in the world." That's a quote directly from him.
What about the entertainment value, though? You're a fan of Vince McMahon.
You throw Rampage in professional wrestling. Yeah, Rampage is hysterical. He's funny. But a lot of baggage comes along with Rampage Jackson. A lot of baggage comes along with him.
All right, I think he brings something to the table. Let's switch
over.
We'll
find out.
We'll
see who's right and who's wrong.
We'll see. I think he brings something to the table.
All right.
I think he's going to draw numbers for them. Let's go over to Roy Nelson. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is he a restricted free agent right now? You guys have negotiation rights with him for a certain amount of time?
Yeah.
We know the back and forth love-hate relationship you've had with Roy Nelson. You've made no secret of that. But
I don't know if there's been any love there.
Okay, neutral. Okay, it's a neutral hate relationship. There we go. With that relationship, will you be able to set that aside? Because I think he brings a lot to the table. Will you be able to set that aside and do business with him? Because I think that'd be a huge acquisition for Bellator. He's another guy who looks different. I like the fact that he looks different. I got no problem. I'm not hiring him to be a board member. I'm hiring him to be a character and a fighter. He fights great. He's a good fighter. I love the mullet. I had the mullet in '82.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Problem is it's 2013.
Yeah,
good
point.
Go ahead.
Good point. Good point. And I know you guys are in negotiations, so you might not be able to say certain things. But are you gonna fight for him?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think there's anybody that I've disliked more than Tito Ortiz. Tito Ortiz fought his entire career over here. Even Rampage Jackson. The problems that we had with Rampage fought his career here until he lost 4 in a row and admitted himself he could no longer compete with the best in the world. And, Rampage, I think this move was a good move for Rampage. Rampage is now going to go fight in a company that has the money to pay him a lot of money, and he's not fighting tough guys. Why not go over there? Rampage is going to make a lot of money, doesn't have to fight tough guys, and can also get paid to do professional wrestling. It's the perfect next step in his career as he gets older and works his way out of the sport.
Nelson?
We're talking about 2 totally different things.
Yeah, Nelson's different, but there's some similarities there in that they're both characters.
But what we're talking about here is we're talking about them competing with the UFC, which they don't, and they can't. That's what we're really talking about here. If I want one of their guys, I will take one of their guys. I will get them. If I don't want guys and I let them have them, then I will let guys go and allow them to have them.
Check your local listings for Part 3 with Dana White. Jay's Brawl Call is brought to you by Healthmate Saunas, the leader of the sauna industry since 1979. HealthmateSauna.com. AKO, American Knockout Wear, where shadows become legends. And CNP Professional, the ultimate in sports nutrition. CNP Professional, because it works.